So the question that I was asked is, what is my opinion about education and where do I see it being violated in the world in terms of education being a basic human right? Well, what I would say to that question is that my belief is, and always has been, that every human being should have the right to a quality education. Every human being, regardless of where you're born, what your nationality is, what your race is, any religious orientations, every human being should have the right to a quality education. So the second part of that question is, where do I see that right being violated in the world? I would make a general statement and say where I see it being violated is in countries, and sometimes even within our country, the United States, where education is not funded to the level that it should be. So for example, in many countries that, let's say, are third world countries or lower income types of countries where money is pretty scarce, I would say that you will find oftentimes where education is poorly funded because the country either doesn't have the money to fund it properly, or the money isn't allocated the way it should be to help fund education in those countries. I would say in the United States, you still see various parts of our country where states don't fund education equally or to a quality level. And I know that that's a battle that even goes on in the state of Colorado, where there is quite a battle to try to increase the funding for education within our own state. So even in the United States, there could be a case made that a quality education is not being funded to the level that it should be. 'Cause you loved it too much and you dive too deep. Well, you only need the light when it's burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. Only know you've been high when you're feeling low. Only hit the road.
So in the world, depending on your gender, depending on your religion, depending on your social status, if you're rich or poor, you might get a different quality of education or be refused education at all. There are parts of the Middle East, which is part of Asia, that refuse to educate women. Women actually, if they're caught going to school or caught learning to read, can be stoned to death, which to me seems to be obviously a human rights violation.
And you let it go, staring at the bottom of your glass, hoping one day you'll make a dream last. But dreams come slow and they go so fast.
I think it's pretty beautiful that we have a country that mandates education for free. Students have to stay in school until they're 16. It is illegal for them to not be in school until they're 16. And that law has changed as we have changed in society. It didn't used to be that way. My great-grandpa dropped out of school when he was in second grade because he had to go work on the farm. But now that's not an option. And I think that that's essential for our development of our country. During my great-grandpa's time, they had to focus more on being able to get food. We're lucky now to be in a time where food is not as much of a struggle. And so school is our focus. When I think about what school has done for me and how it let me get away from kind of some scary things, I'm really thankful. So many places. You mentioned a couple with Africa and India. So many pieces with girls and the treatment of girls in education. The right for girls to have education versus just boys, that is a problem across the globe where boys are focused on and girls have to stay home, which keeps many girls in poverty situations that they can't escape. If they are in an abusive relationship, they cannot leave because they have no skills or education in order to allow them to live on their own. It keeps women and children in unsafe positions. And there are too many smart, bright women around the world that could change the world and help the world that aren't ever given that opportunity, and I have a huge problem with that. And that problem for boys also continues, where if they are in a location where they can't get to school because of money or because of a class structure, that's just insane to me. The idea of money getting in the way of learning is devastating.
Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. Only know you've been high when you're feeling low. Only hate the road when you're missing home. Only know you love her when you let her go. And you let her go.